Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. And today I'll be doing a commentary video where I'm gonna be talking about my process while I draw my profile picture today. And of course, it'll be really nice if you could join the Discord server or maybe follow me on my other social media. Anyways, let's get into the video. So the first thing I would do is to use my red pen and I will just go over my holes and other things. I'll call this mostly my blocking in phase because I'm just blocking in everything and figuring things out. Of course, there's actually another thing I would do in this phase of drawing is I'll gather my references. Because typically I am not that kind of artist to research everything beforehand. Or if I do research everything, it's very minimal and it's usually just like finding a pose or whatever. Of course, in certain cases, I do not really need that much references, or I kind of already did everything beforehand. So yeah, in some speed paints, you do see me pulling references, but not in all of them. Of course, I'm just not the kind of artist to do things as they go. Actually, this is noticed in my second video or the previous video before this, the Panky speed paint, where I just pull the images as I went. Plus, it also varies from the difficulty of the project and how many references I do need to do it, because, boy and behold, bigger drawings require a lot more reference, I guess. So, there's actually a good reason why I use red. Firstly, it's just because it's very easy to differentiate from black inks, which I'll be using to do line art. And also, I just kind of found it from YouTube and it has never stopped as a habit. So now we're getting to my semi-line art phase. Of course, in my older pictures, I will usually just take this line art and go with it. But since now I'm a bit more conscious about my line art, this is usually the part where I actually try to decipher what the heck is going on with my red lines. If you actually notice, my red lines are really rough. Like extremely rough. To a point where, trying to get anything that looks as detailed as my profile picture is from that is not an easy task. I know some people would say that I should just put more effort into the red line art if I don't want to deal with this fast. But honestly, my low attention span cannot anymore. And I'm just way too used to drawing this way, to be honest. So, I mean, it works. Of course, in this stage, I at least try to make it as neat as possible. If I can take it as my final line art, I would take it as my final line art. If I can't, I'll just make a new layer. So I've been drawing like this for about a year now. I actually got this idea from someone on YouTube Shorts, basically explaining why you should have a neater sketch. Of course, there are a few reasons from what I remember. It's just because our brains have this tendency to be able to fill in like visual gaps and information. And with a really messy sketch, it'll be really hard for you in the line art process trying to fill in those gaps and perfect those strokes. So that's why having a neater sketch layer is great. I mean, I did that, but like in my own twisted way. There's actually a reason why I do it like this. I just have like a shitty attention span. I'm really goddamn impatient. Like I am so impatient, like, to be honest. Like even from the start, when I start picking up a pencil, I've been impatient and fast-paced. Like, I used to draw so hard and so rough on the paper. And I still kind of struggle with that, to be honest. Like, a lot of the feedback I get is draw lighter or draw more gentler, which I could. I'm trying, by the way. Funny thing, I haven't like sketched in a while, to be honest. Actually, I'm having a video where I'm gonna do some sketching, so you can watch me do that. But that'll be posted way later on. So I have been trying to fix that, and I eventually will. I mean, I don't know what got me this impatient. I just in nature like this. I draw like this. And I think I used to do watercolor. Actually, funny thing about watercolor, it's like two personalities crashing against each other. We have the most impatient artist in the world and like the medium that requires a fuck ton of patience. Probably after oil paintings, like apparently that takes a while. Like watercolor can require you to wait for things to go, and water itself has a mind of its own sometimes. Like I would say I sucked at watercolor, to be honest. Like, I only have like one good art piece that I'm willingly showing, maybe like a 2 if I'm on a good day. Anyway, I lost so many watercolor pieces to my pure impatience just because I decided to not wait for my paint to dry. And a lot. I mean a lot. Because the funny thing with watercolor, there's no Control Z to help you save your ass. You just have water. I mean, there are a few techniques I've learned along the years that could teach you how to remove mistakes, like lifting the water. So I didn't really know what to talk about, and I ended up talking about watercolors. And I also have no hate against watercolor as a medium. For people who do use watercolors, I respect everyone. Anyway, this is my last phase of the line art process, aka the line art phase, where I start to finalize everything. And of course there are many styles of line art, and there are also artists who just do not do line art in general. I am not one of those artists, and I actually took it upon myself to use line weights. It's basically a way to like emphasize like different parts of your drawing using things like line thickness and all that sort of stuff. I said I would try to do that, and then in all my other pictures I didn't really. They're all the same. So that's why I put it upon myself to try to make the details thinner and the not really details thicker, you know, to emphasize things. Also just makes the drawing more interesting to look at. I feel like that's great. Of course, there are many different artists who do things in many different ways. Some don't even have line art, and some have a really sketchy style. But of course, in this case, I've been trying to have a clean line art, so I'm just gonna do what I'm trying to do here. So what I do is I'll use stabilizer, and I will just go over everything and try to make it neat. Okay, so funny story that happened while filming this part. I lost the recording, and I ended up losing 30 minutes of work at it, if I'm not wrong. That's what I remembered the recording was when I stopped it. What happened is that I accidentally shut down my computer, and I forgot to save the recording in time. So I ended up having to re-record this part. Honestly, it was fine. I think the line art in this case ended up really well, and I'm really proud of this part of my work. And the brushes I do use in this case is like the Krita default brush, because by the way, I'm using Krita, if you do not know. I did not really use anything from special brush packs. I just used like the default Krita stuff. I do have Rakuri V2 brush set, but I only used it sometimes. And I found the default brushes quite okay to use because I think Krita has a really big library of brushes you can use. I think I wanted to also adopt the style that I got from traditional, because I was also trained in the art class and taught how to do line art in traditional, basically inking and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of the principles from that has carried along in a sense, like trying not to rush everything and stuff like that. Even if in digital you can kind of undo if you hate your lines so much. Like, you know, in traditional I was able to execute line weight a bit better than I was in digital stuff, and I wanted to carry that over. Not because my brush has no like brush sensitivity, I forgot what it's called, but like basically when you press harder on the brush in digital, like it would be thicker or something like that. No, my brush does have that, but like I didn't know why. I just found it a bit harder for me to do, and honestly it took me a while. I think it also could be my setup and how I feel like drawing on traditional is a bit more tactile. I don't really have the words to describe it. I think at this point when I first started doing inking in my art class, I was very used to doing traditional and very used to using pencil on paper and all that sort of stuff. And you know, when you do inking traditionally, there's no such thing as zooming in, so I didn't really do that, and I got the hang of it quite fast. I feel like in digital it took me a while to realize that I should zoom in, and also there's actually another extra layer I shall add to this, is that my setup is not a screen tablet. I'm not complaining about my setup, I'm just saying I have this like graphics tablet that like you use with your computer as the screen. I mean, it only took me a few days to get used to it, so I'd say it's kind of easy. All I did is just trace random images. So I'm gonna get into my coloring process. So the first thing I would do is to use fill bucket and get myself some base colors. I would usually separate it. Honestly, back then I did not separate it. I legit actually put everything together in one layer. There's a reason why I decided to switch into separating it. It's just because it's easier, as I personally do everything separately. So I render my hair separately and all this sort of stuff. So I find it easier to have separate base colors. Another change for my art process is just me using the fill bucket. Honestly, I know damn well y'all probably have never seen my old speed paints, but if you have, then like you would just see me coloring everything manually, or like, you know, not using a fill bucket. Actually, back then I just didn't know how to use it, or like it seemed like it was selecting the wrong color. And it took me around a year to realize that actually there are, like, in the top left hand corner there's just like two cubes with like some arrows around it, and like my arrow was not pressing the correct way, so like the fill bucket was not selecting the right color, if that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, this is for Krita because I'm using Krita right now. I don't know about other programs and all this sort of stuff. I mean, for me it's also just efficiency, and also the fact that my line art brush has changed. I heard that, and I've experienced that, using a textured line art brush would make it hard for fill bucket to work properly, so I had to at least spend around a good amount of time using manual fill because I used a textured brush back then. And honestly, at this point of time, the linearity of the process of making this artwork has just got thrown out the drain. And I know linearity is probably not a word at this point, I'm literally just making it up. So right now I'm rendering the skin. I use a darker brush to go over things like the shadows and stuff, so under the hair, the neck, and all this sort of stuff. To be honest, I didn't know what I'm doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. When I do this, I am kind of just putting random blobs of things and hoping that it works. I mean, usually it does. It looks natural, and you know, people don't really judge. And also part of me has to note that I'm only really using this as a profile picture, and there's a chance that people don't really look close into it. I mean, you could if you want, and there's a chance you're watching this video because you are kind of looking close at the process of making this one. So I'm gonna start putting in the base colors, and I am also gonna be doing the rendering for different things here and there. So yeah, this is what I mean by the quote linearity has died, because I'm not doing things linearly. I am literally just like anyhow doing it in a sense, you know. I'm just going back and forth for some reason, which honestly to me doesn't make sense. I don't usually draw like this, to be frank. Like, maybe because I was rushing it, which by the way I was genuinely rushing this one. I had been working on this for at least 2 days or 3 days at this point of time, and I also just wanted to start the YouTube channel, and this profile picture was the one thing that kind of was pushing me back. And by the way, me spending 2 days on this was very unusual. Like, I'm a very fast artist, and you know, if you were to get me from like what, a few months ago, a year ago to do this, she'd probably get this shit done in like a 3-hour session or something. Honestly, this was kind of just broke down into like different sessions, so the total amount of time, including re-recording the line art, took me about like 2 hours 30 minutes, which I say it's quite average from the time that I take to draw something like this. I actually would start drawing the pins right now. I think it's because it's one of the things that I forgot to draw, and now I realize I have to draw it, so I'm gonna draw this. It's actually a trick I used for the autism pin. So I take the red and I'll have a clipping mask over that layer, and then I will just draw the stripes, and then I will merge it together so it'll be one nice pin. I think for the ace pin I kind of just did the stripes. Like, there's nothing to really explain right there. I decided to put this in my design because I feel like it just has part of my identity that I somewhat cherish. And also it's just really cool design element, you know, a little Easter egg I can add. If y'all notice, of course. So yes, I'm in fact ace and so I think it's appropriate for me to put that in. So another thing I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna be shading the hair. The hair is like really hard for me to shade, and I don't even know how to render a lot of things, including hair. So what I do is I'll take this slightly dark layer and I'll just go over the shadows and stuff. This is my first layer, and this is going to be the first shade, which is going to be the lightest out of them. I usually use 3 colors in, so I have another darker color there, and then I would also do it where it's darker. So things like the back of the hair and where light wouldn't hit, if that makes sense. Of course, for me this is a bit tricky, and I had quite a hard time doing shading. To be honest, this is not really one of my biggest challenges when it comes to shading hair. I cannot shade black hair, and for that Peggy fan art from the last video, I kind of struggled with the hair right there too. So I decided to do the shadow where the hands are, so because the hands are in front of the head, that's I'm going to be doing that as well. I think for this, I am gonna start doing the darker shadows around everything. This will be my 3rd layer of shadow. Well, at this point, I'll just draw lines randomly and stuff like that. I'll just draw them around so that maybe it gives a hair-like texture. I can't explain myself. I'll just put the lines around and around. I kind of wish it got a bit darker, but anyway. So I'm gonna add the highlights now, and with this highlights I use addition and a lighter color. This could be a light yellow in this case, and then I'll just lower the opacity as I see fit. I kind of have been doing these highlights because I just figure out how addition works. Like when I first discovered it, I decided that this would be a good way to put highlights in. To be honest, this is like the only clipping mode I do know how to use properly. Like I just do not know how to use multiply or overlay or whatever else that exists. I know I should, but I don't. So as you can see, it's just me adjusting opacity, making sure things are perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna add this. I do not use pure white, or as much as I try, I do not use pure white for the addition layers. And I don't really know how to explain them, like, because I just kind of randomly put things of light anywhere and pray it actually looks great. But honestly, for this reference, as I probably mentioned before, I have a good guide of where the light is compared to the rest of my drawings where I'm just drawing my character and I don't know where to shine the light, so I ended up make everything look scattered and stuff like that. I should probably do light studies, like I probably should, but I haven't. I think I tried at some point. I did like draw an egg, and so I'm gonna do the highlights for the face. I did the same thing I would do with the hair. I just take addition layer and then I would just go over it. I don't really know what else to do for this. I don't know how to make the face like bright like the picture and the reference I'm copying, so I kind of just like had a lower opacity addition layer and pray that it looks right. I'm not really copying this reference, but I'd say I'm copying the reference. Anyway, so I'm just lowering the opacity even more and being like, okay, does this work? Does this look okay? Then I'll add blush. I'll take a slightly rosy color. I'll just put it more to the red side rather than anything else. And then I'll shade the hands and with the same darker color I used for the skin. So I think for the shadow where I placed it, I followed the reference. And I think it's just because I'm using the reference to copy. I only use the reference for the pose and where I place my lights. Besides that, I kind of did my own style and did my own character. Okay, maybe I stole the eyes, but like I think besides that, it's been quite faithful to my original style. So for this, I decided to make everything around it a bit darker for the torso area, since it is behind and it's not lit besides one tiny spot. I think my trick for my black jacket is just that my base color is lower than pure black, so that when I do shading for it, that I can just select colors that are darker for my jacket. To be honest, I do not know how to render fabrics either. I kind of just go under where the shadows is and all that sort of stuff. I think I broke my pure white rule when I did the torso. I kind of just went over where I think the light would hit randomly. I didn't really know how to do it and just used my reference as a guide on how to do this. Because since my character doesn't really have booba, or at least the booba is not really visible as the reference is, it was a bit hard for me to be like, where should I put the color? So I decided not to and just make and shade the clothes instead. I've dispelled all my tricks in today's video. I don't know if this is what y'all want me to do. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. I would love to see them. And if you like this style of video, please tell me. So if you would like to support me even more, you can follow my Instagram, my Twitter, and join the Discord server. So I hope you guys have a great day and bye.